a lot of ways for a disenchanted superstar to find his way to a new team. You can stop showing up. You can go through the motions when you do show up, go through the media, ask your agent to ask for a trade. You can go talk to the owner. 2 nights ago, James Harden came out and said things weren't working in Houston. And when I heard this, I said on the show, that's his exit interview. Those are his final comments. I wondered if he would play again. And then, as it turned out, they sort of ramped up the trade talks, and we have a deal. Because the Rockets trading Harden to the Nets in the mega deal that will have a big impact on the title race. It should. Harden will team up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, 2 players who had somewhat messy departures from their last teams. And you don't know how these things work out. If you go back to when Kevin Durant joined Golden State, it was incumbent upon Steve Kerr and the other Warriors to accommodate Kevin Durant. You got to have him come in and let him feel like, we want you to be successful. We want you to be the star. You can be the go-to guy. It was really important for Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson to welcome in Kevin Durant and make sure that he wasn't the odd man out. Now, it turned out that he was. He was never fully immersed in the Golden State Warriors. He was there. And he was, as we found out, he wasn't there very long. But he was there. He was successful, had the Achilles injury, and then now he's in Brooklyn. If you look at what happened with LeBron, Kevin Love, and Kyrie Irving in Cleveland, you have to have a pecking order. You have to know your place. Kevin Love knew that he was going to play the role of Chris Bosh when LeBron and D. Wade teamed up in Miami. Chris Bosh was as important to that success as anybody was. Because here is a future Hall of Famer, perennial all-star in Toronto. He goes to Miami, but he knew, I have to be the third guy. Then it was up to LeBron and D. Wade and whose team it was and who gets the last shot and all those things that we try to come up with arguments about. But when you go to a team, you have to know where you stand with everybody because you can't have 3 alphas in there. Now, as much as Chris Bosh was able to do what he wanted to do in Toronto and get 22 and 12 a night, when he went to Miami, it was, what is my role tonight? What do you need? I'll do that. Kevin Love put up historically great numbers in Minnesota. One night he had a 30-30 game. He goes to Cleveland. He realizes, hey, I got to be 15-8. Whatever you need me to do, I can do it. I can shoot the 3. I'm going to complement what you guys do. Now you got 3 alphas here. KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. And right now you got one of them missing. It's fascinating. I thought it was going to be fascinating before they got James Harden. Now you look at this and you say the upside is you guys can win the championship. The downside is it's going to be a mess. And it's not just a mess now. This is a mess that could impact the Nets for a decade. What they gave up, they're rolling the dice that they can bring in James Harden. You got a rookie head coach in Steve Nash. Now, you do have Mike D'Antoni, who coached James Harden, and he's on the bench with Steve Nash, and you're trying to figure all this out. And first of all, you got to figure out Kyrie Irving, because we don't even know where he stands with all of this. Does he want Steve Nash as the head coach? Does he respect him? How's he going to feel that James Harden is going to be ball dominant here? Kevin Durant could have gone anywhere, and he decided he wanted to go with Brooklyn. And he wanted to go and be with his buddy, Kyrie. And now there's varying reports on Kyrie maybe he's a little distant with Kevin Durant. That maybe he doesn't respect Steve Nash, who he thinks may have jumped to the front of the line to become a head coach. Kyrie's not even in uniform, which is amazing. But if you look at what you're doing, you run the risk of adding Harden. And he can be great. But if Harden, Durant, and Irving learn to play together by playoff time, then you have something truly incredible. But these things don't always work out. and trying to figure that out of the chemistry part of this is a delicate balance because everybody thinks they're the star. They want their touches. Hey, I used to average 30. Kyrie's going to want it. Crunch time, that's what I'm known for. KD wants to be one of the top 10 players of all time. I want to win championship. Like, there's so much that you throw in here. And then Steve Nash is just trying to establish himself as the voice in that locker room. And good luck with that. McLovin, you got a poll question for me?
Yeah, as you suggested, we talked about before the show, are the Nets the team to beat in the NBA? Basically, will they win a title with this group this year? Or is that even too much to ask right now? I feel like it's a fair question.
Well, we're only 9, 10, 11 games into the season, although we're lopping off 10 games, so it's a little bit more of a shortened season. We're coming off the bubble, guys getting into shape, i.e. James Harden, rookie coach and Steve Nash. Got a good bench, though. Got good assistant coaches there. I think it's asking an awful lot. I think it's an awful lot. The Lakers still have the infrastructure there, and they got better in the offseason. I don't know who else. I think Philadelphia is still the team to beat in the East. And the fact that Philadelphia didn't give up Ben Simmons, which we can talk about because Ben Simmons thought he was going to be traded yesterday. Thought. And then you didn't trade him. If I'm Houston and I look around at what happened, I eventually got Victor Oladipo, who's on an expiring contract. If you get Ben Simmons, you're going to be a good team. You're going to be a playoff team. They got Victor Oladipo, who I don't even know if he'll be there at the end of the season because that expiring contract, somebody may want to pick that up. But, keep this in mind. The Rockets don't even have a first-round pick. It's not like they can tank because Oklahoma City owns Houston's draft pick. And by the way, we get caught up in these draft picks. These draft picks don't mean anything. Because keep in mind, Houston had no draft picks. Remember that? They gave it up for Russell Westbrook. Now they got a bunch of them. It can happen. You can get draft picks back. And we saw a lot of that. I think the Indiana Pacers did a great job in getting Karis LeVert. Now, you're going to say, wait a minute. Through all of this, you're going to go, I think Indiana did extremely well with Karis LeVert. The folks in the Midwest are going to find out you're going to get somebody who shows up, who is really good, plays hard, and he's going to fit in with that nucleus that you have. You got Sabonis, and you got Brogdon. And I know Oladipo went to IU. No, he was a Hoosier. Okay. I don't think he wanted to be there. Plus, I don't know how healthy he is, and he's got an expiring contract, and he's going to want a lot of money. And maybe you've seen the best out of him. Pacers did well with Karis LeVert, in my opinion. I love Jared Allen. He was going to get paid. I think he's a really talented young player, team player, energetic player, and now he goes to Cleveland. The Nets don't have defense. They don't have a rim protector here. There's a lot of things you can look at and go, okay, how good are they? I think the Nets go, we're all in. But did you get James Harden because you don't know about Kyrie Irving? How much did that factor in? And coming up, we'll talk to Tim McMahon of ESPN. He's done a great job in covering this trade. Frank Isola, who does pre- and post-game for the Yes Network. He's a studio host there covering the Nets. He'll join us coming up a little bit later on. All right. Any other poll questions there, McLovin?
Well, Paulie and I just say Malcolm Brogdon. I forgot Malcolm Brogdon was on the Pacers. He's good. He's shooting 48% from three this year.
Yeah, he's played well. And he needs to take over that, hey, this is my team. They got Miles Turner. Sabonis has been good. And I like what the Pacers are doing. I don't know if they're challenging anybody in the East, but I like what they did. They got Karis LeVert, and he's a talented player, a young player. And with Houston, Victor Oladipo, okay, I like him. I don't think he wants to stay in Houston. Yeah, McLovin.
One side question we were throwing around. Are you happy if you're a Sixers fan that Ben Simmons was not traded for Harden?
I would be. But, I was told this last night. And this is somebody who he's involved in the NBA. I don't want to give too many details, but he's involved in the NBA. He works in the league right now. And he goes, I had to laugh. He goes, I saw the re-air of the podcast. I listened to your podcast, and you were talking about would they trade James Harden to Philadelphia? And I laughed out loud because why would Houston help out the Philadelphia 76ers? Their GM, who said, I'm going to take some time off and, step down as the Rockets GM, Daryl Morey, then goes to Philadelphia. They were not going to help out Daryl Morey because Daryl Morey wanted James Harden, and they didn't want to give up. They were trying to figure out how can we do this and not give up Ben Simmons. Then they realized they had to give up Ben Simmons. But if I'm Houston and I could have gotten Ben Simmons, I don't think he's a franchise player, but I think he can be a very good player. And they decided that they wanted Victor Oladipo instead. And you got all of these draft picks from the Nets, which I don't even know what it's going to mean, 5 years down the road. It's one of those where you go, 5 years down the road, we're going to go, man, how did they get that guy? Oh, that was the trade with Harden. And, Harden, okay. It's almost like you need a map that's going to tell you exactly this went there, that goes there, this goes there, and this is up in 2027. There's an 11-year-old kid right now who's going to be involved in this trade, right? So he's going to be a Houston Rocket. So there's an 11-year-old walking around playing with his Xbox or whatever, and, he's 6'4", and he just started dunking, and he's going to be a Houston Rocket in 2027. I mean, that's how crazy all of this is. Yeah, Paulie.
When the story broke yesterday, I think it was Ramona Shelburne and Woj broke it. It just said James Harden has been traded to the New Jersey Nets. My mind went instantly to, they traded Kyrie Irving for him straight up, or something picks. But I was a little surprised that they didn't use this as an opportunity to dump Kyrie. That was before I knew there was a ton of draft picks involved. That was my first reaction.
Yeah, but if I'm Houston, I don't want Kyrie Irving.
But that's interesting because with the Nets, we think they're going to win titles, or people do.
Well, I'm assuming Kyrie with Kevin Durant, and somehow they make that work. And Kevin Durant had played with James Harden. But if I'm Houston, I don't want a guy that I don't even know. The team can't find the guy that you might want to trade to me. Yeah, McLevin.
Wouldn't that risk making Durant mad if they traded Kyrie too? Because don't they run aren't they the co-coaches? I don't even know what's happening
Probably. Yeah, see.
Funny, I just keep forgetting that Houston has John Wall now.
Yeah. They had a team that could make the playoffs with Harden if he wanted to play, John Wall, Boogie Cousins, Christian Wood. They could be a 5 seed, 4 seed.
Your Rockets?
Seed. They could have been,
but I think they're going to be your Rockets, aren't they now?
They're not my Rockets. But they can be an Oklahoma City type team. They might overachieve, but I think they're going to surprise some people, but I don't think they're going to be consistent. Yes, Eden.
Man, just a couple of years ago, if you had John Wall, Boogie Cousins, and Victor Oladipo, you're like, all right, that's 3 I could work with.
Yeah.
Feels a little past its prime, but.
Well, they're all coming off injuries. Yeah, McLevin.
They might be your Rockets if they sign you to a 10-day later when everybody gets hurt.
Yeah.